Good evening and welcome to India Watch. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. In this show, we bring you the biggest stories, the biggest headlines from India, the latest updates and unbiased analysis. As the world watches this country, it's important to set the right narrative. In the next 30 minutes, we'll bring you up to speed with India. Our first story tonight is something that you've heard before. Every year, India's national media reports on the rainfall in Mumbai. How several parts of the maximum city are waterlogged. How showers cripple India's financial capital. But to tell today's story, we decided to dig into the archives. Let's look at Mumbai through the years, starting with 2005, the year of the flood. This was Mumbai in 2005. 5 years later, little progress has been made. The year is 2010 and Mumbai is waterlogged, as you can see. Years changed, but the pictures did not. In 2015, Mumbai was still a mess. And now, 2019, Mumbai looks the same, crippled by water. Since the advent of 24 News, our news channels in India, this story has been reported every year. The same issues have been raised, the same apathy has been lamented. Every monsoon, India's financial capital comes to a standstill. Many streets are waterlogged, several trains are cancelled, buses are diverted, flights run late. This time, as many as 2,000 traffic police personnel have been deployed only to manage the roads. Mumbai deserves better. The city is the highest contributor to the overall tax collections in the country. Last year, Mumbai chipped in close to 1/3 of the overall tax paid in India, and yet this is what they get in terms of civic amenities. The days ahead are not expected to bring any respite. Through the week, more rains will follow. That's what the Met Department predicts. And it's not like monsoons arrived suddenly. This is an annual phenomenon, also late this year. So why wasn't Mumbai better prepared for the rains? Who takes the blame for this chaos? The Maharashtra government and civic agencies failed to deliver. The city's stormwater drainage system just cannot keep up. This system, may I tell you, was originally planned in the 1860s. You heard that right. This city, the city of Mumbai, depends on a drainage system that was designed in the 1860s, more than 150 years old. There have been several attempts to upgrade the system, but clearly it hasn't been done seriously. It hasn't been taken seriously. The first attempt was made way back in 1985. This was after a massive flood in Mumbai. Back then, the BMC, the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation, had launched a project for a new stormwater disposal system, but no work got done there. Something similar happened in 2005. The deluge forced some politicians to rethink, but they did not get any work done. The British-era drainage system is unfit to handle the heavy rains of Mumbai in 2019, and this is only one of the city's many problems. Look at the others. Several drains are of a sparse capacity. There is blockage in larger drains. Repair work is slow and not nearly enough. These defects mean that reports of urban flooding are largely ignored. What's more alarming is that the city is unable to harvest most of the rainwater. So while there is so much water on the roads, the city's reservoirs lie empty. One report says that Mumbai's total rainwater stock has gone up by only 1% in the last month. Only a slight increase has been reported in the water levels in the city's lakes. All this is happening in a state that is facing a severe water shortage. Last month, the state government of Maharashtra deployed a record number of tankers to send water to parched regions. In fact, water conservation is something that even the Prime Minister brought up in his first radio address, or Mann Ki Baat, since taking office in the second term. He urged all citizens of India to conserve water.
पानी की कमी से देश के कई हिस्से हर साल प्रभावित होते हैं। आपको आश्चर्य होगा कि साल भर में वर्षा से जो पानी प्राप्त होता है, उसका केवल 8% हमारे देश में बचाया जाता है। सिर्फ 8%। अब समय आ गया है इस समस्या का समाधान निकाला जाए। मुझे विश्वास है हम दूसरी और समस्याओं की तरह ही जन भागीदारी से, जनशक्ति से 130 करोड़ देशवासियों के सामर्थ्य, सहयोग और संकल्प से इस संकट का भी समाधान कर लेंगे।
Now, the drama of the absurd refuses to end in the Congress. Party President Rahul Gandhi remains firm on his decision to quit. The junior leadership of the party will not take it without some point scoring, so they will hold a sit-in, a symbolic protest on Tuesday to urge Rahul Gandhi to continue as president. This will be inside the Congress headquarters at 24 Akbar Road in New Delhi. and then a formal note of request will be forwarded to the office of Rahul Gandhi. Today, 5 chief ministers from Congress-ruled states met Mr. Gandhi. This includes Bhupesh Baghel of Chhattisgarh, Amrinder Singh of Punjab, Ashok Gehlot of Rajasthan, Narayan Swamy of Puducherry and Kamal Nath of Madhya Pradesh.
राहुल गांधी जी ने हमारी बातों को गौर से सुना है गौर से सुना है। हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि वो पॉजिटिव फैसला करेंगे।
So now this is a party without a chief. Senior leaders believe that the Congress Working Committee must immediately meet to resolve the matter. There's also a divide between the junior and the senior leadership within the Congress. There has been a string of resignations, remember, at the junior and middle level, but none of the old guard has stepped down. The Congress Working Committee meeting can only be convened by the party president, according to the party rules. In his absence, his or her absence, the senior-most general secretary can call this meeting. Now, the CWC, the Congress Working Committee, can propose the name for the new Congress president. The AICC, or the All India Congress Committee, must ratify it. This is the procedure. In the year 2000, remember, after Sonia Gandhi's name was passed as the president of the Congress party by the CWC, Jitendra Prasad challenged this. He contested against Sonia Gandhi and lost. And that was the last time an election for the post of Congress president took place. That was 19 years ago. Now the Congress knows the procedure. Their problem is the initiative. Who will stick his or her neck out and bell the cat? No one wants to be seen as a leader who picked an alternative to the Gandhi family, and herein lies the weakness of this organization. Even those leaders who privately admit that the Gandhis have become a liability do not want to say this in public. The Gandhis are expected to leave for the United States for a short private visit soon, and the buzz is that the Congress Working Committee will be convened before this visit. Priyanka Gandhi Vadra is already in the US. The others will follow. 2 names are doing the rounds for the post of Congress president right now. Former Union Home Minister Sushil Kumar Shinde and former leader of Lok Sabha Mallikarjun Kharge. Both are Gandhi loyalists. They've enjoyed a long career. Shinde is from Maharashtra, Kharge is from Karnataka. Both are caste Dalits and achievers in their own right. Whoever takes the post, will he be expected to just keep the seat warm for another Gandhi or lead this party in earnest? That's another uncomfortable question that the Congress is refusing to acknowledge at the moment. If you own a smartphone, there is a high chance that you use a chat-based application, something like WhatsApp. The convenience of such applications is what makes them so addictive. In fact, even businesses are using them these days to sell their products and services. So why should the government be left behind? Reports say that the government of India is planning to come up with its own messaging app. One that can be used by government officials to communicate, but wouldn't it be convenient to just use WhatsApp? The answer is yes and no. Facebook, we know, owns WhatsApp. And if Facebook's privacy record is anything to go by, conducting government business on WhatsApp can be risky business. So the government wants to build its own app. It needs a system that is secure because they cannot use free services like Gmail and WhatsApp. The government plans to move all of its communication to this new system that will be developed. And most importantly, all data on the system will be stored here in India. This is not the first time that a government has felt the need to have a WhatsApp-like system. The French government, for instance, already has one. It's called SHAP. All communication, formal or informal, between agencies of the French government goes through this. It was released earlier this year, in fact, and soon after the rollout, some bugs and security flaws were found on it. Now, the Indian government has decided to take this route. About time, we say. On Friday, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will present India's union budget. For the next 4 days, we'll bring you special reports on expectations, priorities and challenges. We've spoken to many experts across sectors and we'll be bringing you their takes as well. But first things first, what is a union budget? A budget is a statement of estimated receipts and expenditure of the government for a fiscal year. The budget contains 2 crucial parts. One is called the revenue budget. The other is the capital budget. What is a revenue budget? A government spends money to offer various services to the people. It also receives money from people in form of taxes. A revenue budget basically contains both revenue received and spent, earnings and expenditure. Similarly, the capital budget consists of capital receipts and capital expenditure. This will keep an account of loans from public, foreign governments, capital spent on health, education, manufacturing, so on and so forth. So to put it in simple terms, the union budget is basically the annual financial statement of a government. This budget, the one that Nirmala Sitharaman will present, is extremely significant. It comes at a time when the rural economy is in stress. The government has to intervene. That intervention is needed. And now the government did announce some income support for farmers in the interim budget in February. This Friday, they could follow up with more announcements for the rural economy. Experts say that more investment is needed for rural development, and they're also calling for urgent banking reforms in India.
I think that one of the areas that the budget is going to focus in on is agriculture. I think that you're going to see some incentives in this budget to help the farmers. Look, there's a lot of people to feed in India, and there's no question in my mind that the farmers are going to be a group that is going to benefit from whatever changes may happen in the tax code. You know, the tax code in general has a tendency to pick winners and losers. I anticipate that the farmers will be part of a group that is the winners.
The immediate steps which will boost the economy will be economic investment of some 100 crores or so, rural development, something like huge expenditures are required on the rural development. There has to be a banking sector reform.
The budget will reveal the government's reform priorities and the government's position on key issues like trade disputes and corporate taxes.
Ordinarily, I think the budget as a policy-making instrument is a bit less important than it was, say, 20 years ago. But I think there are three main things that the international community and the Indian business community are going to be looking for out of this budget. First and foremost, of course, is the first budget of the Modi government, Part 2. The budget speech. What are some of the main reform priority areas the government intends to focus on in the coming years? Second, and this is particularly, looking at the international trade fight that is happening between the United States and India, will the finance ministry make any concessions on customs duties as part of the budget? Third, one of the big asks of Indian industry leading up to the budget has been a reduction in corporate tax rates. So seeing whether or not the Modi government decides to move on reducing corporate tax rates is the third big area.
Now, exports is one area which needs attention. Infrastructure development is another key area of focus.
India actually has an opportunity now worldwide, specifically that pertains to the tariff war and the trade war that's currently underway between the United States and China. India may very well have an opportunity to step into having increased exports to the United States. So I think that window that exists right now will increase India's ability to move up on the economic scale worldwide. Another area that I think requires attention by India in order for India to truly be a modern, competitive economic power worldwide is to have the proper infrastructure.
So a lot on the finance minister's plate at the moment. Besides these sectoral expectations, several economists believe that the budget will set the tone and send the message of fiscal discipline.
So the first thing Nirmala Sitharaman has to do is to make some adjustment for the short-run economy so that we get a revival from the low growth rate. I think it's very essential for her not to overdo anything. Governments often make mistake of overstimulating an economy. She should not do that. She should do some gentle correction and not actually go overboard.
So this is expected to be an agri-focused budget, a budget that will aim to maintain fiscal discipline, a budget that will aim to stoke growth and introduce reforms. That's the rough expectation. All eyes then on the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, who will aim to revive growth in the economy with her maiden budget this Friday. To be or not to be, that is the question, isn't it? These words from Shakespeare's Hamlet also tell Air India's story. First, India's junior civil aviation minister Hardeep Puri said in Parliament that the environment is not conducive for divestment of Air India in the immediate future. He said that in the current conditions, investors will not show interest. But the minister did not rule out divestment. Hardeep Puri even assured that the government will revisit the sale. Now, this is message number one from the government. So divestment of Air India isn't on the cards, he said. But wait, the government then clarified the minister's statement, saying that the divestment is still on track and that the carrier is ready for sale. Here's the rationale for the shift in stance. The Modi government injected nearly 4,000 crore rupees into Air India in the last fiscal year alone. It also hived off some of the debt. So why this mixed messaging from the minister and the ministry, you may ask? The civil aviation spokesperson says that the minister referred to a report from last year. Don't know how that answers the question. But net-net, Air India divestment has faced a lot of hurdles. Last May, the government attempted to sell the debt-laden carrier, but there were no takers. Bidders said that the terms of the stake sale were not favourable. At the time, the government had said that they will return with an alternative proposal immediately. It has been more than a year now. The government must find a plan for the Air India stake sale, because every day Air India is bleeding. Let me give you some facts. Air India accounts for one-sixth, that's 17% of all the losses reported by central public sector enterprises as of 2 years ago. It is the third biggest loss-making public sector company in India. It is clear the Maharaja is a drag on the taxpayers' money. Auditors say that Air India's current liabilities exceed its assets by more than 38,000 crore rupees. Not just Air India, its subsidiaries are also loss-making. And Air India is not alone in this rut. Private airlines also incur huge losses in India. It seems that Indian airlines are bad businesses. There are several reasons for this, and it's bizarre because passenger growth in India has been rapid. The number of flights has risen by 15 to 20% every year. Demand growth is very high, and yet airlines in India are struggling to stay afloat. Generally, experts blame the situation on external variables, things beyond their control. They say that when fuel prices go up, airlines suffer because India imposes a huge fuel tax on ATF, air turbine fuel. When the rupee depreciates, the airlines face losses. These are factors, but they're only a part of the factors. There are other reasons. Successive governments in India have interfered in the aviation sector, and policies are mired in confusion. There are many smaller towns that are being connected through airports right now, but the government wants to keep a low price cap. Is this even feasible? Why can market forces not control prices? Isn't that the idea of free market capitalism? And there is a chance, is there a chance rather, for the government to ease the burden on airlines? Airlines also have to cop some blame. In fact, Jet Airways is a case in point. Poor decisions, predatory pricing and weak acquisition strategy have all inflicted pain on one airline after another in India. Curbs on foreign investment have also taken the mickey out of the aviation industry. The inefficiencies in this sector run very deep. For instance, the government wants to raise 10,000 crore rupees from the stake sale. The government has transferred loans worth 29,000 crore rupees to an assets holding company. The total debt is 54,000 crore rupees, and it could rise. This year alone, Air India is estimated to post losses of more than 7,500 crore rupees. That tells you a bit about the efficiency. If the government wants to sell Air India, then it must send the right message. And it must sweeten the deal for the prospective bidders. When the entire aviation industry is struggling, why would anyone want to take over just the operations of an air carrier low on efficiency and high on debt? Divestment of Air India was a poll pitch of the BJP and Prime Minister Modi in 2014. And now we're in 2019 and Modi is in his second term. It's time to pick a position and stick to it. In the US, they say that the best time to sell airline stocks is any time the market is open. In Air India's case, that theory looks applicable for selling stakes as well. A rather sad state of affairs for a country which is one of the fastest growing aviation markets in the world. On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of India Watch. Thanks very much for joining us.